Hello guys, and what is up? This is Sounds Pew Pew, and we are coming at you with another video. Today guys, we are going to be doing part 4, I think, of DnD Campaign Diaries, kind of trying to catch up. Unfortunately, I've been a little busy, so I haven't been able to make some videos, so we did play D&D yet again, but I think we should still be able to catch up. We didn't play for very long, so hopefully this will be the last one. Anyways, to get started, so that way I'm not wasting more time than I need to, basically where we last left the heroes were, they took a short rest up top above the Kobold lair here, if you recall that map or not. I don't want to pull it up though because, yeah. So anyways, after that happens, yes, here it is. So this guy right here, this is just a 3D printing thing that somebody put in here. I don't know, 3D model, I guess, that someone put in. I didn't build him at all. I don't know how somebody got this in here like this. Is pretty cool. Either way, there's a couple of them like this. I don't know if this is one of the ones that was pre-generated by the game or not, but either way, pretty cool. So this guy here, his name is Algor. He actually greets the heroes when they come back down with a, I want to say like 10 to 15 kobolds around him. Some being dragon shield, some being sorcerers, or is that what they're called? I don't know if I have shamans. Yes, dragon kobold shamans. Anyways, regardless of that, he greets them. They actually just initially start combat. They slay a couple kobolds, and the whole time Algor's trying to talk to them. He's trying to tell them, like, hey, we don't need to fight. You guys don't know what you're doing, you know, and he told him that. And eventually the paladin of the group is, I don't even think he hit, I don't think he attacked at all. He was down there talking the whole time. He was trying to talk, and he eventually convinces the party, like, listen guys, we need to hear him out, what he's saying. Algor takes 2 biggish hits, I want to say, from Fang before that finalizes up. In this ordeal, Magus, Kararel. Kararel eventually calms down both parties and says, hey, we need to hear this guy out first before we decide whether he's right and we're wrong, or whether we're wrong and he's right. Or well, vice versa. Anyways, so they talk for a bit, and they find out that there's this guy named Kararel the Vile. You may have heard of him before. Yes, I kind of stole him from something else, but it's not a big deal. I've changed him a bit. I just like the name. Anyways, so they hear about this guy named Kararel the Vile, and that he's threatening the world, you know, la. He's going to summon Orcus back. Orcus is the god of the undead, and he's going to summon him to this realm, and he's going to take over and stuff like that. So they find out that how Kararel, they talk to him more and more, and they find out that this kobold here and Algor kind of has built these kobolds into more of a well-trained army. He's worked with them a lot more. He's taught them some stuff. And if the players would have made it this far just slaughtering through, they would have found here he was training a couple of them. So, you know, he would have been training a shaman, kobolds, but they didn't make it that far because they cleared out this first room and then took a short rest. Anyways, so they did all that. They talked for a bit about this guy, eventually came to terms that he is a much worse evil. Basically what he does is he gives you these coins called blood coins, which Matt Colville introduced me into, which I thought was a really cool idea. So if you haven't, go check him out. I'm sure you probably have heard of him over me. Anyways, so these blood coins, what they are is Kararel gives you some blood coins, and when you touch them, you just kind of get this chillingness to your bones. You can just feel like just like your entire body just like chills. I imagine kind of this is what death would almost feel like to you, you know. Anyways, for a brief moment when you touch one. and then after it's on your hand for a bit longer, it kind of dissipates. Basically, though, Kararel gives these coins out every time that you kill somebody. So every body that you kill, you get a coin. And he promises you that if you get so many coins before Doomsday arrives, you will survive. But the trick is that you need, I believe he tells you, I think it was 50 coins. I'm not sure if he says that or not, but either way, we're going to say it. It's 50 coins is what he says is for the to survive part. However, once you get so many coins, and the party learns that it's roughly 30 coins, you start to go completely mad. Like at 30, you're pretty much, most people can't continue to make the saves to not go mad, to lose their will of humanity, basically. The party, since they killed a couple kobolds, actually collected some of these coins when Kararel came. Kararel addressed the whole room. Al Gore kept telling them, the party, they need to just get out of the hole, they need to leave. A couple of the members did leave, a couple of them did not. So this is kind of where it got to the point where it's like, oh, well, we needed to leave. We needed to leave now, but it's too late. Kararel opens up a portal and steps through. A bunch of undead zombies, skeletons, all sorts of stuff just pours out of this hole, starts picking up the dead kobold bodies and throwing them through the hole, carrying them through the hole. After a bit, Kararel is talking to Al Gore, and then he's talking to the party members. The only two party members left are Fang and Dio, and he gives each of them, I think, 17 and 18 coins, blood coins, and says thank you for your work, and then explains to them kind of everything that's going on. He's like, listen, I'm here to summon Orcus back. Orcus is going to help you take over the world. We're going to have undead roaming, and you guys can be part of the winning side, basically. Here's your blood coins. Go get me some kills. The more you get, the more powerful you can become in the next world. He says this world doesn't deserve to live because of how humanity treats each other and stuff like that. They don't fight nicely. So that's kind of what he tells them their goal is. After Kararel leaves, they talk to Al Gore, and then Al Gore explains to them, listen, I've been stealing from the town, I've been plundering from the town, I've been trying to not kill anybody from the town just so I can build up a kobold army big enough to overrun Kararel, and then me and my master will go in and take out the rest. And this got the party thinking, like, what do you mean your master? And after a bit, they were like, okay, well, let's go visit your master. So they work out a deal, and they're like, yes, we will help you guys take out Kararel the Vile. Okay, so after they journey through here, as you guys can see, I had 2 spike traps set up. Now, these spike traps that I had built, if we click on them, does it say yes? Okay, cool. So, oh, dang it. Let me see. Okay, so I had these set up, so this was a little reminder. 50 pounds or more, you must make a dex save or take that much damage. These are a little bit customized spike traps, I think. I think traps do too little of damage. I feel like like a level 1 should die pretty much to a trap or barely survive. With this spike trap anyways, basically it comes out of the wall here, so the spikes shoot out of this wall and go the whole way across. But basically the pressure plates are all 4 of those tiles, and they're 50 pounds. So 50 pounds, if you weigh 51 pounds, the spikes go off. If you weigh less than 50 pounds, the spikes don't go off. The reason I do that, though, is because most kobolds don't weigh that much. They weigh 30 to 40-ish pounds, and then they just have to be careful with how much gear they're carrying. So there was 2 of them. Al Gore, he simply avoids them by jumping over the pressure plates. It's not hard to jump. I think you need if you get a 10-foot jump running start, the average person can jump 10 feet. So it's not a big deal. So they eventually come over here and meet, I believe it was actually a copper dragon, but it's not too important. I think I changed this because I realized that, because Al Gore and him are the same dragon type. I think it was copper. Could be brass still. But either way, the brass dragon, copper dragon, they find out is a young dragon, and they realize, like, oh, we would have had to fight him if we would have kept going. Anyways, like I was saying, they talk to him, they work out a deal. He's going to help them a little bit improve some of their... the dragon will help them on some of their... gaining some knowledge of certain things. And the party actually wants to get to Winterhelm, as we talked about in one of the previous videos. They want to get to Winterhelm. They want to also stop this Kararel guy. So they find out that the dragon is willing to carry them to Winterhelm for a few days' time, and then will pick them up from Winterhelm and take them to Kararel's lair. However, getting from here to Winterhelm, I think, was like a 14 or 12-hour flight or something. No, I think it was a 12-hour flight, but the dragon wanted to make a pit stop, or wanted to stop at this tower that he saw to see the owner of the tower. So they work out a deal, and they're all good and dandy. Like I said, they're going to take a kobold army and attack Kararel, basically, is how this is going to go. So... They set off the very next day out to this tower, which is roughly, I think, a 10-hour flight. So when they get to this tower, it's decent. It's pretty much dark out again. They left at like 7 or 8 o'clock. However, there was a secret tunnel into this cave, so obviously the dragon can't fit out this 5-foot by 5-foot area. The dragon has a little area over here that's like a 2-hour walk. Or climb to get out of. So same thing with this one. He normally flies or climbs out of there pretty easily, being a dragon and whatnot. So they take out that path. They all are mounted on the dragon. So I think 2 or 3 of them are on top of the dragon, and then the other 2 are being carried by his paws underneath. So they get to this tower, and as they're approaching this tower, there's a bunch of people working on the tower, like they're constructing it, repairing it, making it bigger, something along those lines. There's a bunch of construction equipment, tent setup, stuff like that. These people all start to scatter. These people are basically, it seems like they're working pretty much day and night. And like I said, it's getting to the point where it's becoming dark now. And they land, the people are all running, yelling dragon, everybody's going crazy. Out comes a... actually, we could just go to the tower now. Forgot about that. Here we go. Okay, so this is the tower that I was talking about. So as you can see, there's construction stuff all set up for cranes. They've got, this is kind of like their camp area here. They would have some tents, probably more off over this way. And such. So the dragon lands roughly in this area, and out comes a man, a human, with a skeleton, with a dwarf skeleton. And I'll show you some of that stuff then when we get to it. This man comes out and says, hey, and yells, Kent, get the broom, we've got a dragon. You know, here, just kind of funny. And... when this guy yells that, one of the party members, Magus, decides, you know what? I don't need to be here at this tower. The dragon wants to be here. I'm going to head out and go to Winterhelm. So he sets out by himself for whatever reason. Not really entirely sure. The rest of the party, though, decides to stay and have a little chit-chat. So they all talk with Oros for a bit, find out that Oros does not care if they stay here. So they stay the night here. The paladin, not liking the whole undead vibe, kind of chills out here where the construction workers were. Again, though, the construction workers are all gone at this point. The dragon and Oros come up here and talk for a bit about some interesting things about his tower here. The dragon explains that he did not realize that this tower was occupied, and he thought it was abandoned because it looked abandoned, but construction had just recently started on it, like a week or 2 ago, really. Yeah. The party talks to Oros. Eventually, like I said, Magus, though, has left. He walked about 2 hours into the woods in a direction of Winterhelm by himself. The rest of the party was like, cool, whatever. He does what he wants. Not sure why, but either way. So Dio and Fang are talking to Oros, and eventually they talk to him about how there is another necromancer, basically, that is summoning the end of the world. So if we want, now we're going to go ahead and jump into here. So in here now, as you can see, we have... Okay, so this is the lair. So here are some, so there's a zombie and a skeleton walking around on this first floor, actually. The reason these are covered is because I don't want you guys to know what's in there, because I'm the only one who knows what's in there, because nobody went down there other than one other person. So this is the first floor here. So you walk in through this door, and this is kind of what you would basically see. Again, there's a zombie and a skeleton in here. Like I said, they find out pretty much that he's a necromancer. Oros is a necromancer, and they're like, hey, well, there's this other dude that we need to kill, and he's going to bring the end of the world. Would you be willing to basically join us? And Oros is not much of a adventurer per se, but he'd be damned if there's another sorcerer out there, or wizard out there, conjuring up undead. He believes that he should be the only one. Ah, yes, I had that effect on. Let's see. Howling Wind. Let's try Night Ambient. Cool. Anyways, so like I said, they kind of spend the night. They talk for a bit. They do steal, technically, some of his food. So like I said, he's got some food in this area, and I think some other where. So they do take some of his food. They read through some of his books and scrolls, kind of without his permission. He doesn't seem to care, though. But he comes back up to here, which is the 5th floor, or our 4th floor. Oros comes back up here and kind of hangs out, reads a note or two that was left behind to him by this other monk here. So there is another monk that is living within this tower. This monk's whole purpose, though, is knowledge. This monk does not associate with Oros really at all, and he tries to very little associate with the players. However, Fang seems to want to pull some pranks on him. So Fang steals some things from him and moves some of his books around that he's reading, and the monk does not get happy with this. Eventually, when they're going to bed, Fang steals his bed. The guy comes down and says, hey, get out, that's my bed. And then Fang is like, okay, sure, but he takes the pillows and all of the blankets and goes to another bed that already has pillows and blankets, and they end up ripping some sheets, and eventually then the monk just says, you're a child, and goes and gets another set of sheets and stuff like that. Either way, pretty much it passed pretty uneventfully. The next morning, when they arise, they say that they're going to set off. Again, though, at this point, Al Gore and the dragon have already set off onto their next destination that they were going to go to. The party didn't ask, so unfortunately you guys won't know what or where they were going. They wake up the next morning, the monk confronts Fang again and says, hey, where the hell is my paper of research that I've been working on? Fang basically stole this huge document with papers that would fold down on top of papers, and Fang stole it. Unfortunately, the character who was playing Fang, or the person who was playing Fang, actually forgot about this, so he was like, I don't even know what you're talking about, so here, just take the paper back. I'm sorry I took this. I don't remember why I did it. Either way, though, they set out the next morning to go find Winterhelm. Yeah, sorry, my bad. And Oros explains to them, like, hey, just so you guys know, we need to eliminate my skeleton and zombie here, or when I come back, they'll be not under my control. So they eventually decide to kill them. They are trying to talk and be like, well, how do we want to do this? Do we just want to, just find a weak spot on them real quick? Or, because they weren't hostile or anything like that. So they were talking, and Oros got bored, and he's like, all right, skeleton and zombie, attack. So he attacks, and just to put an end to it. At some point, I don't remember exactly why, but they were... Oh, yes, that's what it was. So the blood coins. So that night, Fang had some nightmares and terrors. And I made Dio and Fang both roll a check to... I just made them roll, I believe it was a Constitution save or a will check. I don't remember exactly what it was. But I made Chase roll 2. Chase fails both of them, and he has nightmares and terrors of him watching his own death and stuff like that at night. I was talking to the party was talking amongst themselves, and they found out about this. And Chase, so Fang actually did not get a good night's sleep. He actually has a level of exhaustion now. And they are talking about these blood coins. They're like, you know what? It's the blood coins. It's got to be the blood coins that are bad. This is not good. We need to get rid of the blood coins. Okay, so they spend the next little bit talking about, hey, give me some of your blood coins. So both Dio and Fang are lying about the amount of blood coins they have, and then eventually it comes out. But Dio's character is starting to get freaked out because he's not too much, because he only met Fang like a day and a half ago. He only met Oros a couple hours ago, and he only met Kararel like 2 or 3 days ago. So he's here with nobody because Magus, like I said, left last night, all by himself. So Dio is like, wait a minute, I don't like this situation here. I feel like I'm being teamed up on. He turns into, I believe it was a bear, and sprints off. He transforms into a bear. Bears have movement of 40, so there was pretty much no hope of the party actually catching him. They tried for a bit to actually grab a hold of him as he ran kind of away from them. I gave them all kind of a reaction to it, but they all failed. The only one that was semi-successful was Kararel, but basically he was grabbed a hold of the bear, but was immediately yanked off. He was able to grab him. Anyways. Interestingly enough, Magus sets off pretty early in the morning too by himself, finds the path, or the actual path to town, and starts to trot down that, or walk down that. Eventually, Dio actually catches up to him, and Dio transforms into a horse, and they ride off. Magus mounts the horse, and they ride off. They have a little conversation, obviously. Every little bit, Dio gets his transforming ability back. I believe every short rest is what he informed me. So they take an hour rest, and then they transform back into a horse and go again. The other party members, they decide, all right, well, let's start walking. So at this point, Fang realizes that there's something wrong, and he needs to get rid of these blood coins because nothing is going good for him right now. He keeps acting out extremely violently. There's some other things that we kind of missed, but that he just doesn't seem like he's being himself. So he decides, you know what? I'm just going to throw a blood coin into the woods as we're walking. So he's just going to pick out one coin at a time and chuck it. He doesn't tell anybody else, and eventually they find out when they walk into the woods because they heard some rustling and they see a blood coin on the ground. And they're like, what the hell is this? And then eventually they come back and they see Fang covered in dust. And they're like, what are you doing? And he's like, nothing. And then they come over and they uncover what look to be fresh piled on dirt, and they find, I think, 2 blood coins in there. And he's like, I'm sorry. Fang just comes out and says, I'm sorry. I wanted to get rid of these blood coins. I just didn't want to tell you guys. I don't feel like they're healthy for me. I don't know why I didn't want to tell him. Either way, that all happens. Fang has one more coin. Kararel asks for it, and he hands it to him. But just then, Kararel and Oros see Fang basically just, his face just kind of goes like expressionless, and then it just turns into pure rage. And then he just smacks Kararel with his sword almost immediately. At this point then, Kararel is like, oh shit, I just took half my hit points of health. Gone. Oros, lucky enough, was able to deal 17 points of damage, if I do recall, to Fang. Which Fang, as you remember, did not gain from his short rest, so he was still actually injured from the fight, from something, I don't remember what. Plus, he also had a level or 2 of exhaustion, actually. Yeah, he had 2, that's right, because he had not, I don't remember the exact reasoning, but he had 2 at this point. He actually is able to knock Fang back into himself. He has 1 HP. They heal Fang a little bit, and they set back off onto the town. Now we're going to cut back to Magus and Dio. So Magus and Dio, about roughly like 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon, they arrive at a blockade. They get there, they see 5 people standing outside of this blockade, and they're like, what's going on here? And they're like, sorry, the town is under lockdown, no one can enter or leave. So this is what 4 of them look like. And let me see if I have the other one real quick. And anyways, so they're like, well, we would like entry into the town. And the town says, I'm sorry, we're not giving entry into the town at this moment unless you have a pass, basically like a passport, if you want to think it that way. And here's the other one. So this is the one that's mainly talking to them. So yeah. Whoopsies. What in the world is that? I must have accidentally dragged in something else. Anyways, so yeah. So this guy's kind of talking to them, and they're like, well, we just want to get through. Now, at this point, Dio is still a horse. So he is not, nothing has changed. So what they do is they're like, okay, guess we can't enter. They try to bluff their way in and be like, oh yeah, I'm this person's family, you know, and such, and I just, I left like 2 days ago, and it doesn't work. So they walk back this way quite a bit. They wait till it gets a little bit darker outside to the point where it's kind of hard to see too far, knowing that at least this guy's a human because you can't see these guys' face. And they decide, you know what, we're going to use the cover of dark to run forward. And then Dio casts Misty, create mist or something like that, or mist maybe. I don't remember what it is exactly, but it was mist. And it covers most of this area here. So now these guys can't see out of it, and the other 2, they quickly run because they didn't have the blockade set up the whole way because there's no forest here. There's no forest this way or that way. There's a hills way over here somewhere and a mountain way over there. Okay, this is pretty much plains at this point here. So they run out around this way and are able to get through some of the high grass hiding. Just imagine that there's high grass because this wouldn't all be well kept, and they're stealthing through. So like I said, those guys were covered in the mist. Obviously they were panicking a little bit, and they kind of slowly went out of the mist, but once they got out of the mist, it was like, because you don't want to just run straight out of the mist because, you know, there might be a whole army there waiting to slaughter you, or there might be archers or something along those lines. So they stealthily kind of moved them way out of the mist, but at this time the 2 had already snuck past and made it into the town. Once they got into the town, they noticed the town completely barren. There was absolutely nobody on the streets, almost no lights were on. But what they did notice was, just as the moon was rising, they noticed over top of one of the buildings, about 3 buildings down from them, there was a man kind of crouched down, or not necessarily a man, a humanoid, crouched down on top of one of the buildings. And it looked as if it was looking in their direction. They looked up, saw him, and then he almost disappeared in front of their eyes. And they decided, That's scary as shit. Let's go this way. As they walk to the right now, instead of the left, they come across a building that sure as hell looks like an inn. And they're like, okay, let's go in there. So they enter into this inn. They meet a gentleman in there. They actually walk into a bar, or a tavern kind of thing, if you want to say. And the gentleman there is like, what in the world are you guys doing here? You cannot be out past curfew. And I'm like, what's curfew? And they're like, listen, we don't have time to explain. Do you guys have a room here? If you have a room, you need to get into it now. And they're like, no, we don't have a room. Can we get a room? And he's like, yeah, here you go. And he gives them a room. He sells it to him for a silver piece, and they're like, okay, cool. I'm like, why does this guy want us out of here? So he's like, you need to go to your room, please. So they go to their room, but Magus doesn't actually go. He sits outside of a door and is able to listen in because his rooms were upstairs, so he kind of sits right outside the steps. So after Magus says that he wants to wait around for like 10 to 15 minutes, about 7 to 8 minutes of waiting, some people walk in and are talking to them basically about like the security. And they're like, hey, have you seen anybody come in here? We heard that there might have been some blockade runners. And they were like, no, I'm sorry, we haven't seen, nobody's came in here, basically. And then that's pretty much it. And he's like, okay, if you see anything, let us know. The guy doesn't sell those guys out or anything like that, and the other group leaves. Magus was not able to get a look at them, but he goes back up to his room and goes to sleep. The other party, they basically walked at a very slow speed due to Fang being exhausted, and they make and stop camp. And that is actually where we're going to stop it. I will make another video here very, very shortly, like in the next day or two will be uploaded, of part 5, and then we'll definitely be caught up. So thank you guys all for watching, and I'll catch you guys on my next video.